Is it a bit surprising that that money's been spent before the council actually approved it?
It is, and I can understand that you do need to do some work around a development proposal, but that is quite a chunk of money.
It is indeed. Gary Gannon, a lot of people will look at this and see Celtic Tiger-style notions at a time when the city has much more pressing needs.
Yeah, but let's be very clear. The reason this passed last night was because of a very significant intervention from Dublin Fire Brigade, who came to the City Council and outlined their grievances start happening in terms when they're providing training, doing their training in the River Liffey and out in Glendalough, that the members of Dublin Fire Brigade have been experiencing toxicity levels that were making them sick, that wasn't suitable to the type of training that they need or conducive to the service that they provide the city. And I'm not going to undermine that. Dublin Fire Brigade have over 100 water-based rescues each year. 20 of them come out of the River Liffey, and comparatively they've had 48 in terms of fire or house rescues. So we're talking about people's lives here, and we're talking about people providing them valuable services. That's the reason this passed.
OK, Neasa Harrigan, what about that argument? It's all for the Fire Brigade.
Well, I don't think anybody in Dublin City Council begrudges Dublin Fire Brigade support, and I think that they do need to do this training. I envisage in the future that there will be significant flooding in this country, and we do need to train and prepare for that. Part of the reason that this has doubled in cost from 12 million to just over 22 million is because we changed from the Cardiff version of this, which is what the financial model is based on, to the New York state-of-the-art version of this, which is actually the disaster preparedness system that they have in New York, which was built directly as a response to Hurricane Katrina for first responders all over the US. Now, that training needs to be done. Do I think it needs to be done right in the middle of the city centre? I don't. And do I think that we need Hurricane Katrina levels of preparedness? I don't.
Well, that remains to be seen. But Gary Gannon, as you saw in the report there, a lot of people are looking at this and saying, are you nuts? 22 million at a time when the new latest housing figures have come out, an extra 117 people homeless. A survey says Dublin is the worst city in the world to move to look for accommodation. And your own party has a motion of no confidence in the housing minister being debated as we speak. And Dublin City Council is spending 22 million on this.
Let's be clear about where this money comes from. And if this was a zero-sum game where that money could be spent somewhere else, particularly in the area of homeless and housing, nobody would be supporting this. But it wasn't. It's in terms of the 22 million, 13 of that comes from state grants that can only be used for sports or tourism, and also water-based services.
Sports facilities that could be.
There's 5 million going in for development levies that could only be spent on recreational facilities around the area, and then 4 million in loans from Dublin City Council that will be recouped over the course of about 2 years.
You hope.
Well, that's the projections. It's not something.
Well, as you can see there, 50% roughly of that funding is going to come from DCC budgets. So half of that is going to come from borrowing, which is going to be serviced by 200,000 cost every year. We asked all sorts of questions last night around the costs, because a doubling in cost is fairly significant. One of the questions I asked was, what will the insurance costs be? They couldn't tell us. What would be the energy usage and what are the costs related to that energy usage? They couldn't tell us. What would be the price point for people, an average person using it or a local person using it? They couldn't tell us. And is 23 million the exact amount that it will cost? They couldn't tell us.
OK, well, the cost has gone up by 10 million euro, partly because they forgot to include VAT.
Yes, that's...
Yeah, so you're relying on a cost projection from people who forgot about VAT.
But that's also not where the cost has gone up. Let's be very clear about this.
It's part of the reason.
Well, it's part of the reason. That was a projection that Dublin City Council gave us back in January. But there's also 2 very significant buildings going in there. The building across from the CHQ plant, that's going in there. There's a flood defence system going in. And most importantly, there's been a change to what we're offering here. There's a street landscape going in terms of the course that Dublin Fire Brigade have asked for in terms of being able to provide for their training. And we can't separate ourselves from the fact we've been told we need to be led by experts in terms of development policy. Dublin Fire Brigade have told us we need this in this city to make their jobs safer.
Do you expect this to be built?
No.
OK, thank you both very much indeed for joining us. Miriam.